Well, I can tell you it's been a very, very dangerous and extremely fast pursuit. They've been chasing that van right there. Now,
It's exactly what he's doing. Are you Googling the laws right now?
Henderson Police Department SWAT team responded to the scene and set up a perimeter around the condominium.
I travel in and out of time zone.
And the 3 key rules for a criminal defense lawyer: always on time, impeccably dressed, and occasionally sober.
The yellow sports car up ahead won't stop. Then something happens you might expect in a Spider-Man movie. It wraps around the tire of the fleeing vehicle and stops all forward motion.
Objection, action answered.
I mean, he leaps over the fucking bench.
No, the thing is that's my property. You have no choice.
Actually, I do, because I found friggin' Xanax bars on your driver's seat. If you want to explain something, explain those.
Cops get very frustrated when you don't answer the questions.
No.
Right, step back forward.
He's gonna go straight. There's a car right here. Got him.
All right, I'm going to excuse everyone. Mr. Brooks is being removed from the courtroom.
This is fucking hilarious. So he pulls out a joint in court.
Go, 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 go.
Turn on your stomach! Stop fighting us! Stop resisting!
The injury by the police, that may be a separate issue for you to file a civil suit.
Chris, just while he's doing that, talk to me. What were you running for again?
Warrant.
Warrants? A felony warrant? City warrants what?
Felony warrant on Kansas.
Well, I'm pretty sure they ran you, and you don't have any warrants.
I don't.
No.
No warrants.
No.
Oh, there's my Kelly.
So all that for nothing, right? No warrants, no nothing.
Yeah.
Police! A little farther, bro. A little more. Okay, go.
Not finna sit here and let you fix the trial because you don't want to tell the truth to the jury.
We're there, guys. Got eyes on.
I want to suck it. Yes, I think I would like to suck your dick. I don't think so.
I prefer not to.
I prefer not to, sir. See, that I love that.
So do you wish to say anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
We're back. Welcome back. This is the Defense Rests, and this is where true crime is our pastime. So we're back on day 20. Day 20. And we're only into really the second day of the prosecution's evidentiary phase. It's only taken them 20 days, 5 weeks to get here. And really, I don't think it's gone in their favour, just quietly. And today, we're going to find out more why. So, today we commence the direct examination of Ashley Valier. Sorry, not commence. We continue the direct examination of forensic criminologist Ashley Valier, who has been assigned to put together the pieces of tail light from Karen Reid's car. And then we move on to her so-called supervisor, I think, who has more specialty in the areas of the fibres, Christina Hanley. So she examines the debris that was scraped off by the first forensic criminologist, Maureen Hartlett. And then what we've been waiting for is Yuriry Bukhenik. Sgt Yuriry Bukhenik, otherwise known as BUKKAKE, takes the stand. So this is one of the investigators that I have been looking forward to watching, and I think everyone else has been looking forward to watching. He's been given a big rap by a lot of the big content creators, Turtle Boy and the Glairer, among others. And I think he and Proctor have a lot to answer for, basically. So this will be very, very interesting. Looking forward to going through his testimony. And I will be flitting backwards and forwards to a couple of different clips as well as going through the live feed. The other thing I'd like to let you know too, I found this amazing detailed timeline that someone had put together on a Google spreadsheet. So I have copied and pasted the link and put it in the description box down below. So you can go onto that, click onto it and find it. And it actually has not only the times to the second, what the, whether it was Jen McCabe called so-and-so, whether it was deleted or kept. And then it actually has a reference to the document or the video or CCTV footage and everything that associated with that event. So it's fantastic. Whoever put that together is A1. So do go on to the Glairer and Turtle Boy Live to give them a sub, give them a like, go and watch some of their videos. They have covered this trial in depth and have done a fantastic job. And thank you for letting some fair use of your stream. All right. So we shall, without any further ado, get on to it. Let's add this to stage. And if you see this gentleman here, I have to play it first. This gentleman here is the Glairer.
Now, Ms. Valier, when we had left off the other day, I believe you had just looked at some photos of item 7-16. Is that correct? If you recall.
It's been a few days.
Approach, Your Honor.
Yes.
And Ms. Valier, I'm going to show you a series of 6 photographs. Ask you to just review those.
All right, so I'm going to remind both of you to keep your voices up. Mr. Lally, when you're facing the witness and you're this close, I guarantee you nobody behind you can hear you.
Understood.
She makes the funniest little noises on the microphone. It's so cute. It's like a little mouse. Very cute.
Hey, Ms. Valier, do you recognize what's in those photographs?
Yeah.
And what do you recognize those to be?
Photos that I took of item 7-16.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, the call will seek to introduce in a minute. Exhibits. Can I just see them, please?
So what Lally has done pretty much throughout this forensic testimony, he's 5 or 10 photos he hands the witness, and then they've got to go to the court reporter to be documented as exhibits before he can publish them. And it just takes hours and hours. And then they go up on the screen and you see bits of tail light. So
Evidence item numbers. What was the process that you undertook as far as doing your
and lots of numbers.
So first of all, everything is documented. Each item is documented separately with photographs, notes. I put a label with the case number, item number, and then A, B, C, etc. If there are multiple pieces in it, a label on each piece. I look at the photos to see if there are any similarities, dissimilarities, to see if there are any potential pieces to compare. And then if I do think that there are pieces that could be compared, I'll open those items and keep them all separate, and then look at them in real time to see if it does actually look like they could be consistent before I bring them close together. And if it still looks like they could be consistent, then I'll bring them together to see if there is an actual mechanical fit, and then I'll document that and look at it under the stereo zoom.
And the device or the instrument that you're looking at, again, could you describe for the jury again what that is?
So the stereo zoom is also called a stereo microscope. It's a microscope that is on a stand, so you can put larger pieces of evidence underneath it.
Now, as far as that initial sort of looking at things together, are you doing that? How are you sort of organizing that? Is that by item number, by color, or by something else?
I did this by color because it seemed the easiest way to organize all of these pieces.
And then within the individual item number, say just randomly 7-15, for example. Are you looking at
Lally's
that,
on for quite some
if there's
time over
multiple
this.
pieces within an item? Are you looking at the consistency within the item prior to looking sort of crossing between 715 to 716?
Closer to.
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
So that's
Final
comparisons between item 3-1 and piece 1.
And item 3-1 again was the tail light. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, with the court, Commonwealth would seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibits.
Okay. Next lot of photos. What I might do is, there you go. There's the completed.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2156. Where do you recognize what's now up on the screen has been marked as exhibit 403?
From all of those pieces that were collected from supposedly 34 Fairview, they've now been put together, all 45 pieces, by Ashley Valier. There's only one piece.
That's one of the photos comparing item 3-1 and piece 1.
So she's painstakingly taped all of that back together in the housing.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have, that's prior to you.
These are bits that she found before she put them back in.
So that's when I initially looked at
and when we start
item 3-1.
Cross-examination, which is very interesting. Karen looking back at her parents. Yannetti gets up to do his stuff. This is John's brother, Paul. Yeah, so I haven't seen the Glera in the house before. He's at court today. So if you head over to his channel, around details that might be very interesting. So head on over. Good
morning.
Good morning.
Check out his channel.
You have testified that when evidence comes into the crime lab, it's given crime lab evidence or item numbers, correct?
It's given a case number, and then each piece of evidence gets its own individual item number.
Okay, and if you can just keep your voice up because we want to make sure that the last jurors here can hear you. Consistent with that policy, the evidence that your lab received in this case was also given those item numbers, correct?
Correct.
So I'd like to ask you about one particular item number in this case, 7-18.18. Would you agree with me, and feel free to check your records, but would you agree with me that that was the item number given to, quote, debris from orange t-shirt and gray long sleeve shirt, end quote?
Okay. You can go ahead. Okay.
And again, it's 7-18.18.
Debris from orange t-shirt 7-17 and gray long sleeve shirt 7-18-JO.
Terrific. Item 7-18.18 did not include the orange T-shirt itself, correct?
No.
Believe that you just testified that was given a different item number, which was 7-17?
I believe so.
And 7-18-18 also did not include the gray long sleeve shirt either, correct?
I didn't look at 7-17 or 7-18. I only received the debris from.
Okay, well, yeah, that's my point. So with regard to the orange T-shirt and the gray long sleeve shirt, those were given separate item numbers, and you examined what was the debris allegedly from those shirts, right? 7-18.18, correct?
Correct.
And that debris consisted of different categories, did it not?
There were different pieces of, there were different things inside of it, yes.
Yes, different categories of things, correct?
I'm sure.
All right, so one category was dirt and debris, correct?
Yes.
You did not test the dirt and debris, correct?
Correct.
Another category was, or were, I should say, several apparent hairs.
Yes.
And you did not test those hairs, correct?
Correct.
And another category, I believe you've already testified to, consisted of several pieces of red apparent plastic and one piece of clear apparent plastic that measured 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Is that accurate?
Okay, so there were several pieces of red apparent plastic and then one piece of clear apparent plastic measuring approximately 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Yes.
Okay. And I apologize for continually reminding you, but I'm just mindful that everybody needs to hear you. So to the best you can, if you can just keep your voice up, I'll try to do the same. So when those several pieces of apparent red plastic and one piece of apparent clear plastic came into your possession, those pieces were obviously not embedded in either shirt when you examined them, correct?
I don't know. I didn't examine the shirt.
Well, so to my question, the pieces that you saw were not embedded in a shirt when you examined them, correct?
Correct.
And again, that's because you never took possession of any shirt in this case, correct?
Correct.
The pieces were loose and they were not embedded in anything, correct?
The pieces were,
Someone else
well,
collected
I
the
examined the
evidence?
debris from the shirt. I
Examined
don't
it.
know what the person who packaged it did to collect that.
Okay. And so it goes without saying that you never saw those pieces on either the orange shirt or the gray long sleeve shirt, correct?
He's alluding
I
to
did
the
not.
chain of
And you
custody.
obviously had no control over how the evidence was handled before it came into your possession, correct?
We have a chain of custody in the laboratory, but I did not follow the evidence as it went through the chain.
Okay, and we'll talk about the chain of custody in a minute. Before this evidence came into your possession, you did not witness who seized it, correct?
Correct.
You did not witness who handled it, correct?
Correct.
Before it came into your possession, you don't know who had access to that evidence, correct?
So all of our evidence is stored in locked facilities.
Right, but I guess let me modify that question. Before it came to your lab, you don't know who had access to that evidence, correct?
Correct.
You also don't know, before it came to your lab, whether the shirts in question were at all times kept separate from the red or clear plastic pieces of, well, I said pieces of plastic that were in the possession of certain members of the state police, correct?
Correct.
The chain of custody at the crime lab started with noting the state trooper who actually delivered the evidence to your lab, along with the date, correct?
All right, could you repeat the question?
Sure. The chain of custody at the crime lab starts with noting which state trooper delivered the evidence to your lab and the date that he or she delivered it, correct?
Or a crime scene responder, but the person who drops off the evidence to the laboratory, yes.
Okay. And in this case, which particular state trooper delivered the orange T-shirt and gray long sleeve shirt to your crime lab?
I don't know.
Well, which state trooper delivered the pieces of red and clear plastic pieces, I should say, that you just testified about?
The item 7-5 to 7-19.
Right. The several pieces of red apparent plastic and one piece of clear apparent plastic measuring 1/8 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. That's what I'm referring to.
Wait, sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes. You understand what I'm talking about, right? In terms of the several pieces of red apparent plastic and then the one piece of clear plastic that you have the measurements for?
You're talking about the apparent plastic that I noted in the debris of 7-18.18.
Correct. Which state trooper was it that delivered that?
Do you know?
Sorry, that's like that's an odd question.
I don't know if you want her to repeat it, Ms. Giannetti. Go ahead. You have to repeat that, please.
So evidence is submitted to
what you just said that he missed.
Oh, I said that's kind of an odd question.
Oh, not for me.
So.
Do you have a record of that?
A record of what?
A record of which state trooper delivered that debris to the lab?
So it wouldn't be delivered as like debris. It would be delivered as the individual piece of clothing, which then got assigned item 7-18, I believe. And then as someone analyzes it, each
She's missing
each
the point.
offshoot of that
He
piece
wants
of
to know
evidence
who
gets a
signed the evidence
7-18
bag
point
and
something.
delivered it.
So the debris collected from that shirt
She does get there.
is 7-18.18.
Okay, all right. Listen, when those several, actually, let me strike that. Get to where I was.
Take your time, Ms. Giannetti.
I think that's the first time I've heard Auntie Bev be nice.
Okay, so I want to confirm with you that when you were assigned to this case, you were aware that the date of the incident was January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
All right. And it's your testimony that you don't know which state trooper delivered the shirts to the lab, correct?
I could look at my notes because I have a printed chain of custody.
Sure. If you would check your notes for that, please.
Okay. So.
It's like a little mouse making squeaky noises. So cute.
Okay, so submission 7, which is everything that's item 7- in this case, was submitted by Trooper Michael Proctor.
There we go.
Oh, that was the answer to my question. Thank you. How long after January 29th of 2022, according to your records, did Michael Proctor deliver that clothing to the crime lab?
It was delivered on March 14th, 2022.
Okay, so about 6 weeks or so after January 29th, is that accurate?
Sure.
Given that your lab received this evidence on March 14th of 2022, you can't testify to the chain of custody of the clothing or the pieces of plastic prior to March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And except for the tail light housing that was seized by Maureen Hartnett, except for that, your chain of custody at the lab for the 2 shirts plus the pieces of plastic in 7-18.18, that began on March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
So between January 29th of 2022 and March 14th of 2022, you do not know what Michael Proctor did or didn't do with the orange t-shirt and gray long sleeve shirt, correct?
Objection.
Morning
I'll allow
again.
I don't know.
Jump on if you want to, Brian.
Okay. Now, I'd like to discuss with you, if I might, Michael Proctor's submissions of the pieces of plastic that you've testified about. Your lab received from Michael Proctor several different evidence bags containing red, clear, and black pieces of plastic, correct?
Correct.
Some of those evidence bags contain relatively small pieces of plastic in them, correct?
Correct.
And some of those evidence bags contained larger pieces, right?
Correct.
The evidence bags that you received listed the dates of recovery of those pieces of plastic, did they not?
I believe so.
And the evidence bags that you received also listed the officer who recovered the plastic pieces, right?
I believe so.
And again, when you receive those evidence bags, whatever numbers are on them, your lab assigns them your item number, correct?
Correct.
So I'd like to ask you first about item number 7-8.
Glad to have you here.
Do you have a record of that?
You're going to give me a big head.
Yes.
Now, that evidence bag, item number 7-8, contained multiple pieces of red, black, and clear pieces of plastic, correct?
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
She's so cute.
Contained 14 pieces of red, black, colorless, and silver colored apparent plastic. Yes.
Okay. And the date of collection was February 3rd of 2022?
Go right ahead. Okay. Item 7-8.
Yes.
February 3rd, 2022.
Okay, and that was, if you have that in front of you, that was also collected by a trooper named DeChico, correct?
DeChico.
Oh, yes, correct.
If I may approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
So I show you a photograph. Can you identify what that is?
Yes.
What is that?
That is the handwritten label on item 7-8.
Yep.
That would have been the evidence bag that your lab received and gave item number 7-8 to it, correct?
Correct.
And that appears to be an exact, photograph.
I don't think
of the
there's an
actual bag.
objection to it, so we
Yeah,
can just
that's
put
true.
it in.
Okay. May I offer that, Your Honor?
Sure.
Plus, she's just so darn cute. I just want to squeeze her.
435.
May I display that for the jury, Your Honor?
Okay.
And this is
Right, so it's important to note the dates of these evidence bags and when they were submitted.
That is
And by
what I
whom?
just showed you on the screen, correct?
Correct.
That's where it's indicated what the date of collection was and which trooper collected it, correct?
Correct.
This is DeChico and front of
All right,
34th
we
Avenue.
can turn the lights on for a minute. And you would agree with me that that date, February 3rd of 2022, was only 5 days after the January 29th blizzard, correct?
I don't recall the dates of blizzards, but
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Let's put it the date of the incident. You would have
Okay.
previously testified that was January 29th, correct?
correct.
All right. And February 3rd was 5 days after that, right?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to show Exhibit 279, please, which is 3 days.
Okay.
Now, Exhibit 279, which is displayed on the screen now, this is one of the photos taken of some of the contents of item 7-8, is it not?
That's the entirety of the contents of item 7-8.
Okay. You would agree with me that those were the pieces that were inside that evidence bag, labeled February 3rd as the date of recovery, 5 days after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you see that there are some relatively small pieces that were allegedly found on February 3rd, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, Your Honor, I'm continually showing photographs. We can turn the lights on and off, whatever the court's preference is.
You can just tell the court officer when you want the lights turned.
Okay, all right. So they get turned on for like a question or two, and then I turn them back off. But
However you want to do it.
that's fine. All right, so I'd like to contrast some of those pieces with some of the pieces that were found days and weeks later by Michael Proctor. And I'd like to start first with item 7-13.
I like how Unetti does this.
This is, I'd like to display Exhibit 343, which, Mr. Bates, is item 5.
Very succinct.
Okay. You were previously asked about Exhibit 343, which is now displayed on the screen.
One large piece
And
of
that
plastic
is
red.
the first evidence bag
Proctor.
submitted by Trooper Proctor, is it not?
So in mine, sorry.
And you know what, let me rephrase that. He submitted evidence bags all at one time, correct?
Yes.
All on 314. So when I said the first evidence bag, I meant the earliest date of collection. I should have asked it that way.
8th of February
of 2022.
Sure, I don't know all of the dates that each item was collected on.
Okay, but in any case,
You will in a minute.
that those, according to the evidence bag that you received, the contents of that bag, which were, again, pieces of plastic, correct?
Pieces of apparent plastic.
Pieces of apparent plastic. Those were found
You think?
5 days after the pieces that you previously testified were found by the Chico, right, on February 3rd?
Correct.
I've got another clip actually that will interest you. But I'll have to share it in a second once I get through this bit. It's, yeah.
All right. And February 8th was now 10 days after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
It's now 10 days. Next.
Can I have displayed Exhibit 346, which is 5A?
Oh, I wonder who collected this one. Oh.
Okay, looking at
It's about 4
Exhibit
inches.
346.
How did I miss that?
You will agree with me that this particular piece found on February 8th by Trooper Proctor was quite a bit larger than many of the plastic pieces that had been found by Trooper DeChico 5 days earlier on February 3rd, correct?
I mean, there were a variety of sizes of pieces on the other one, but that is a, what is that, approximately 4-ish inches?
Right, but my point is, Exhibit 346, what's displayed, that plastic piece, is quite a bit bigger than the small pieces that were contained in DeChico's collection, correct?
Then some of those pieces, yes.
Okay. Now I'd like to move on to item 7-15, and if I could show Exhibit 352, please.
The evidence
Which
bag.
is item 8,
Yep.
Mr. Bates.
Trooper Proctor, 11th of February, out the front, 34 Fairview.
Item
3 pieces of
7-15.
clear and 5 pieces of red.
The evidence bag that supports that lists the law enforcement officer
I
who
missed that?
recovered the plastic pieces as Trooper Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And the date of recovery of those pieces was February 11th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And again, hearkening back to DeChico's evidence bag from February 3rd. This is now 8 days later that these pieces are found, correct?
Correct.
And it's now almost 2 weeks that these pieces are found after January 29th, right? 13 days?
Correct.
All right, if I could show Exhibit 355, which is 8A, Mr. Bates. You would agree with me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 11th is also quite a bit larger than those small pieces that were contained in Trooper DeChico's evidence collection, correct? On February 3rd?
Correct.
All right. I'd like to move on to item 7-16, which is
next evidence
number
bag.
9, Mr. Bates.
Oh, looky here.
What
Who
exhibit
did
number
that?
is this, Mr.
And this is
18th of Feb. Several pieces of red and clear plastic at 34 Fairview Road, Canton. Wow.
This has not yet been
I did
introduced.
search
I'm about
and
to
see
introduce
if I missed
it.
those.
And in fact, why don't I do that first?
Okay.
If I can approach the witness.
Sure. And there's no objection to this, Mr. Lally?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'll just have the witness identify it and then offer it. Do you recognize what that photo depicts that I've handed to you?
I do.
What is it?
The handwritten label from item 7-16.
Okay. I would offer that, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so if I can display Exhibit 436, which is number 9.
Sure.
And again, you just identified that as the bag supporting item 7-16, correct?
Correct.
That also lists the law enforcement officer who recovered the plastic pieces as Trooper Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And the date of recovery of those plastic pieces was February 18th of 2022.
So was he just doing
correct?
like random drive-bys every couple of days?
Trooper
There's another
Proctor
bit.
is now finding these pieces over 2 weeks
Really?
after the smaller pieces were found by Trooper DeChico, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
February 18th is nearly 3 weeks after January 29th, is it not?
Correct.
All right. If I could show Exhibit 370.
He's getting way too excited.
I'm sorry, 380, which is 9A, Mr. Bates.
Mr. Bates. I have to giggle every time. I can't help myself.
You would agree with me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 18th is also quite a bit larger than those smaller plastic pieces found by Trooper DeChico on February 3rd, correct?
Correct.
This one appears to be about 11 centimeters long, approximately.
Sure.
All right. If I could show Exhibit 376, which is 9B, Mr. Bates.
Whoa.
Okay. And you would agree with me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 18th.
How did they miss that?
Is also quite a bit larger than those smaller plastic pieces found by Trooper DeChico back on February 3rd, correct?
Correct.
In fact, that appears to be larger than the piece that you just identified in Exhibit 380, correct?
The one that was just on the screen?
Right.
Yes.
This one appears to be maybe about 18 centimeters long. Does that seem accurate?
I mean, it's longer than the ruler.
Okay, yeah. And
Never ask a scientist.
finally, if we could show Exhibit 378, which is 9C, Mr. Bates. You would agree with me that this particular piece found by Trooper Proctor on February 18th is even larger than the last one that we just saw, correct?
And that's the bottom bit that I was talking about.
Length? Yes.
Okay. This appears to be about 19 centimeters long.
When the vehicle is being towed.
Longer than the ruler that's up there.
Okay.
But I have the actual measurement in my notes.
Sure. Well, and the precise measurement's not important. I'm just getting at the relative comparison. This one's certainly quite a bit larger than the smaller pieces found by Trooper DeChico back on February 3rd.
You would have dug that up in the snow, surely.
This larger piece of red plastic, like the previous two that you just identified, were all found on February 18th, about 3 weeks after January 29th, correct, according to your records?
Correct.
And regarding these last 3 evidence bags, labeled item number 713, 715, and 716 in February of 2022, from February 8th to the 18th, those were all plastic pieces collected by Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
And in addition to collecting those pieces,
We turn the lights on, Ms. Giannetti?
yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. And we can take that down, please?
Yes. In addition to collecting those plastic pieces on all those different days, Michael Proctor was also the person to hand deliver those last 3 evidence bags, all on March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And you do not know what Michael Proctor did or didn't do with those evidence bags of pieces of taillight prior to March
Correct.
14th of 2022 when your lab received them, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to sustain it. We've already asked that.
All right. Now, the taillight of that Lexus sits in the housing of the Lexus, the taillight housing, such that part of the taillight faces the rear of the car and part of the taillight loops around and faces the passenger side of the car, correct?
Sure.
Right, because it's on the corner.
Sure, yeah.
You'd agree with me that once you received the final pieces of taillight from Michael Proctor on March 14th, or once your lab received that, you were then able to piece together a majority of the taillight, correct?
So I wasn't assigned this case until later, once everything had already been submitted to the laboratory.
Right. So it was true that after Michael Proctor submitted these pieces of taillight on March 14th, it was after that you were able to do the reconstruction that you testified about, correct?
Correct.
If I could have exhibit 432 displayed, which is image 2151, Mr. Bates. That is the reconstruction, the final reconstruction that you were able to do, correct? You would agree with me that there's
Right.
one section
So
of that
see
taillight.
that? This bit here was that last bit, the very last one that he showed, the 15 centimeter one. It sits right here. And this is the side of the assembly that is on the driver's side. So the middle bit here goes round to the back, and this is the side. So this bit here is a reflector. It doesn't have any light behind it, whereas this piece down here has light. So let me just see if I can share this screen instead. I'll take that off and I will share. Share screen. This one. Okay, full screen it. So this is taken from Turtle Boy's stream of today's proceedings. And he has, this is the tow truck that has Karen's car on the back of it. Okay.
Do a break. Are there?
Some point subsequent to this, did you learn that there are exterior cameras of the Canton Police Department as well as
I'm like,
the Canton Police Department?
I don't understand the purpose of this. This shows them coming back to the camp. Like, what was the purpose of that video? Because you notice is the tail light there, right? You look at it, it's like fucking broken. The fuck?
Sergeant, toward the end of that video, did you observe the defendant and her father in any specific area in relation to that vehicle?
Yes, I observed the defendant and her father, the affected.
Yeah.
Again, Sergeant Buchanan, if you could.
No, they show
light.
this. Look at this. Look,
This
oh,
is the
can
car.
you not see it? Look at the top.
Coming from that
The tail
Look
light.
at the
tail light.
tail light.
If
You
you
see
could,
the
you can
tail
have
light.
it before you have before you just direct your
You
attention
see it.
to the specific area you're talking
The tail light is
Right there.
on.
You can see it functioning. They're showing evidence that the tail light, the right side of the tail light,
It's still
oh, yeah,
there.
we've been over the whole tail light thing.
It's
That
still
little
there.
rectangle in the corner,
That was the piece they
lights
just
up.
collected.
the red part that covers it should never be found at the scene, but it is on the 28th, the Czechoslovakia piece. That one shows up. Michael Proctor found it on his final trip, his final undocumented trip. He found it. Yeah, sure thing. Oh, okay.
And notice
So there's
the
that.
angle.
And then
Those little bits
do a
of glass.
break.
How did they manage to stay on the
Someone
bumper?
into this. Did you learn that there are exterior cameras?
We've skipped ahead some of the testimony, so we'll go back to our original one. Share screen. This one. All right, so this is the complete assembly that they've re-put together, missing this piece here. That still to this day has not been found. But this is the piece that we saw working as it was being put onto the tow truck. Okay, so it was intact before it got to the Sally Port at Canton PD. Just saying.
That was missing completely, correct?
Oh, and then there was 48 minutes of CCTV at the Sally Port at Canton PD that was missing as well when Karen's car arrived. The plot thickens.
And that missing section is noticeably visible in your reconstruction, is it not?
Like how you need to
And
get
do you
so
still have
excited.
that laser
It's
pointer
visible.
there?
I do.
Would you please point to the section of taillight that's missing? Okay. Appears to be a hole on the upper left side of that exhibit.
Is that a question?
Yes, it actually was. I
Okay.
should have said right or
Everything's
correct,
a
but I didn't.
question.
Yes.
Okay. And you would agree with me, and if we could zoom back out, Mr. Bates, you would agree with me
They
that
refer
the
to
portion
being-
of taillight that you
They
did
referred
not
to him as
have
Mr. Bates
was strictly
the entire
on
time.
the rear side of the taillight.
Or is it
if I
just
can
me
call it
that's
that.
missed that?
I am not sure what orientation that goes on to a car.
Okay. But in any case, to this day, you do not know where the pieces that make up that whole are or what happened to them, correct?
I do not.
I may have a moment.
Okay. Very interesting.
Mr. Lally?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Redirect. How you going to fix that
Now,
one,
Mr.
Lally?
Lear, in reference to items 7-17 and 18, the orange T-shirt and the gray sweatshirt, fair to say you never actually physically saw those items, correct?
The clothing? No, I did not.
Now, the debris that was provided, are you familiar with how that process or who got those debris items from those clothing items?
I can look at my notes and tell you who
All right.
submitted it or who transferred it to our unit.
To the next.
Could you please state your
Yes.
name and
Christina Hanley. So another forensic scientist at the Massachusetts Crime Lab, and she is the specialist in the more so in the fibers than Ashley was. So she's about to
spell your
testify.
last name for the jury?
Sure. It's Christina Hanley. Hanley is spelled Hanley.
And what do you do for work then?
I am a forensic
Hey,
scientist
Gabby.
at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory.
Welcome.
And how long have you been at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory?
I have been there for approximately 16 years.
Now, ma'am, if
Good
I
to
could
see
ask
you all.
Just a little bit about your educational background, starting with where did you go and what, if any, degree did you receive regard to your undergraduate?
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry with a concentration in Forensics from Merrimack College.
And then after receiving those degrees from Merrimack, where did you go from?
I began working at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab in 2008.
And from your work there in 2008, what did you do next?
So I began as a chemist one in the drug identification unit. Once I completed my training, and then I may
sure you're
sample some more to examine under a polarized light microscope and check to see if there are certain optical properties under a polarized light microscope that are characteristic of glass.
And
Riveting.
in addition to looking at each of these items individually, then what, if any, comparison did you do between those various items, 3-2, 3-3, 7-12, and 7-14?
La 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 la.
So between those items,
To item 7-18.18.
I think you just like saying
that being the debris
numbers and dashes.
come from your
Talks in Morse
examination
code.
of comparison of those items.
sure. So the examined portions of the red plastic from item 7-18.18 was found to be consistent in color, microscopic appearance, instrumental properties with the examined portions of the red plastic from the taillight item 3-1. So accordingly,
Yannetti.
the red plastic from 7-18.18 could have originated from the red plastic from item 3-1, the taillight, or from another source with the same characteristics.
12. Right?
Thank you. May I have one moment, Charm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I have no further questions. No.
Right?
Yay.
Actually,
on,
Mr. Jackson,
Jacko.
before you begin, why don't I see you both at the sidebar about this?
Ah.
Yes, it appears to be a chain of custody of several items.
Okay, and is that a chain of custody document reflective of the crime lab's case number in this case? Sort of a clumsy question. Do you understand what my question is?
It is the chain of custody for 22-02184.
And is that the case number that the Massachusetts State Crime Lab, Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab assigned to this case that you're testifying about today?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've seen reports like this before, correct?
Yes.
They're routinely used in the crime lab to track evidence and maintain chain of custody, at least at the crime lab. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the information contained in the report is entered at or near the time of the event that's memorialized?
Yes.
Okay. And it's relied on generally by the crime lab as a business record, correct? As a record of the events memorialized?
Yes, it's a record of the chain of custody of items within the lab.
Okay. And my question is it relied on by the lab for truth and accuracy as best you can maintain it to track items of evidence within the lab?
Yes, it does track items.
And the information contained in the report is presumed by you and other supervisors at the lab to be accurate. Is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of VB as an exhibit.
Objection.
See that? We'll see you at sidebar.
We'll see you at sidebar. Skip sidebar.
On this. On this.
I believe I'd have to look further in my notes, but I believe E and I were found to fit together by
Actually,
properties, meaning mechanical properties.
Yes, but I would have to check my notes, but I believe it was the previous analyst that looked at 7-12 that found the physical match between E and I.
But that wasn't you?
No, it was Ashley.
Is it okay if I look at my notes?
Sure. I don't want to get bogged down, but yes, please.
It's those two little pieces that Ashley was saying that she found in that debris that she taped together and put back into the bag. And then this particular debris got re-examined by Christina Henley, who is now on the stand, and she's just looking for the previous criminalists who matched those two little parts, because she wasn't the actual one that matched them, if that makes sense. Hello and welcome. Grab yourself a cuppa. Come and sit down. Our next witness is exciting.
Okay, so item 7-12 was previously examined by another analyst in the trace unit. Specifically, E and I received, when I opened this item for examination, E and I were taped together.
I'm not singing the song.
Because they were found to have a physical match by the analyst who previously examined the item.
Great.
Though it'll be going through my head now.
I and L, however, were not found to match the cup.
Oh, look, get over it.
Correct?
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
Let's get to the good shit. Hey! Bukkake in the house! Yuriry Bukhenik, aka.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Yes, sir. My name is Yuriry Bukhenik, spelled Y-U-R-I-Y, last of B-U-K-H-E-N-I-K.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm employed by the Massachusetts State Police.
And how long have you been a trooper with the state police?
I've been a trooper since 2012.
And what, prior to being employed as a trooper with the state police, excuse me, what, if any, other employment or background do you have as far as law enforcement?
Oh, behave.
My law enforcement career began in 2003 when I...
Who can recite this? Like, I could not even tell you my resume. Like, he recites it like he studied it and memorized it. I couldn't even tell you. Like, I know I graduated high school in '89 and then graduated university in '91, but after that, fuck. Forget it.
graduated from the military police school in Fort Leonard, Missouri, while I was enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. From there, I was stationed at Quantico, Virginia, with the Marine Corps Presidential Helicopter Squadron. I provided security for the presidential helicopter and assets, attaining a top secret Yankee White clearance.
That
I was promoted meritoriously to corporal and sergeant and had a platoon of 44 Marines. From there, I was stationed in Camp Pendleton, California, where I was a patrol supervisor on base as a military police officer. Once my enlistment ended, I decided to come home and pursue a law enforcement career here in Massachusetts in the communities that I grew up in. I first worked for the VA Hospital Police, where I attained a secret clearance, which was a requirement of the employment.
Of course you did.
After that, I worked at the Attleboro Police Department in uniform patrol, as well as the SWAT team with Attleboro, Massachusetts Police Department. In 2011, I applied for the Massachusetts State Police, graduated, and worked at the Sturbridge Barracks, Millbury Barracks, and Foxborough Barracks. In 2015, I was selected to come to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office with the detective unit and worked homicide cases as a trooper. 2021, December, I was promoted and took on a supervisory role within the unit.
Now, with respect to your work within the unit of the detective unit at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, what, if any, specialized training did you receive in regard to your work there?
I've attended numerous homicide conferences, training in various aspects of digital device analysis and investigations in
He's analyzed himself a bit too much.
major crimes, homicides, drug investigations, and so forth.
Oh, I know. He's so important. He knows Brian Higgins, doesn't he? Yeah. That was not a Massachusetts Boston accent. That went straight into a British something or other. All right, let's skip the BS.
Brief description of it. And we labeled the evidence bag with that description. We notate who.
Okay.
Each interview was conducted separately. We first interviewed Miss Jennifer McCabe with request of Mr. McCabe to give us privacy. He proceeded upstairs. Once we were done with that interview, Mr. McCabe came downstairs and Miss McCabe gave us the same courtesy. And once that interview was over, Mr. Brian Albert had arrived and we interviewed him briefly.
Is that sort of the typical process of how your unit conducts interviews with respect to civilians?
Yes, with cooperating civilians, we typically advise them that we schedule an interview. We proceed to their location of convenience and separate them and get their version of recollection of events that we are inquiring about.
So why is this the only investigation that I've seen that they don't have any of the interviews done in the police station? Normally all that's recorded and they read the Miranda rights or whatever, but nothing.
After you spoke with those three individuals, so yourself and Trooper Proctor,
Was more British, way more British.
Where is it that you and Trooper Proctor went next?
It's my dad's side.
We proceeded to the Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton.
And where within the Good Samaritan Hospital did you go?
We went to the emergency department.
And within the emergency department, were you led to a specific room?
Yes, we were.
And what, if anything, did you observe when you were in that room?
Once in the room, we observed Mr. O'Keefe's body on the medical bed or gurney. And his clothing, which had been cut off of him, were on the floor at the foot of the bed, a couple of feet away at the foot of the bed.
Now, first, with regard to the clothing, what, if anything, did you do with regard to that?
After viewing Mr. O'Keefe's body, we proceeded to identify the clothing items and bag them into evidence bags, notating which item and the brief description about each item of clothing.
So let me ask you just a little bit about that as far as that process is concerned. So when an item of evidence is collected by you or by your units during the course of an investigation, is there sort of a policy or a protocol, or how are things what do you do with things when you collect them and take them into custody and evidence?
If we deem an item to be of evidentiary value, we identify the item, we take a brief description of it, and we label the evidence bag with that description. We notate who is taking the item into custody, typically who located the item, the time that it's located, and the location from which it was seized or taken or collected.
And with regard to items of clothing, is that something that would be placed in just one big bag of clothes, or like how would those be packaged in evidence bag?
Mr. O'Keefe's clothing, which was already in one big pile on the floor, we packaged all.
Okay, jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch.
Poor John's mum gets quite upset here. Just listening, which would be horrible. Absolutely horrible.
And with respect to those clothing items, do you recall what those clothing items were individually?
Yes, sir.
And what were they?
They were a
explains what they were. So there
plaid
was
pair of boxer,
the boxer shorts, the jeans, the belt, the orange t-shirt, and the grey hoodie, and the one sneaker. And then Lali makes him get up and feel all important and put gloves on and hands him the evidence bags. And he pretty much goes through
Okay, any objection, Mr. Jackson?
every evidence bag, opens it up, shows the item.
So, okay.
Puts
All
it
right,
back.
so you've received photos of all of this, right?
I assume what's in the bag is what's been photographed, but until I see it.
Then they have lunch.
So let's go ahead and open it.
With the court's permission.
Yes.
Resume. It's like he's got a brick. It's like square, like a.
Okay, you can go ahead, Mr. Lally.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant Bukhenik, those items, as far as the clothing items that you displayed for the jury just prior to the recess, those were the same clothing items that you recovered from the hospital room of the Good Samaritan on January 29th, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, you had mentioned earlier in your testimony that those items had been placed into one bag initially. What, if anything, happened with those items as far as their keeping or their bagging once you got back to the office or to your where the evidence room is?
Due to the condition of those items after they arrived at the office, the items were laid out on butcher's paper that we utilize for evidence viewing and allowed to dry naturally because they were soaking wet.
And as far as when they were done with that sort of drying process, how were they packaged from there?
They were packaged in the bags, sealed up, and stored for transport and processing.
And so those would be bags individual for each clothing item, is that correct?
Each item the way that it was packaged, the pants with the belt and the boxers, and then so on and so forth with the sweatshirt and sneakers.
And we'll get to this a little bit more in a moment, but at some point there were pieces of plastic, red and clear plastic, that were recovered by you and other troopers from Fairview Road, is that correct?
That's correct.
At any point in time, were pieces of clear and red plastic that were recovered from 34 Fairview Road ever placed inside the same evidence bag as any piece of clothing that you recovered from this bag?
No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
For reference, I'm 6'1", so it was quite deep in some locations.
Oh, this is
Yes, it
when
was.
they go to.
And so when Officer
Retrieve
Barrows
the car.
arrived, where did you then proceed with Officer Barrows upon his way?
Well, the road was only plowed the width of one vehicle. So even though he and his partner were in a F-150 or 250 marked police cruiser, we could only travel in single line. We traveled up to the cul-de-sac, turned around and positioned our vehicles facing back out to the way that we entered the roadway or that street. We parked on the roadway since the driveway was not plowed, and we waded through the snow to the front door of the residence.
When you say the driveway was not plowed or you waded through the snow, can you describe to the jury sort of the condition of the driveway as you made your way from the street to the house?
With the blowing winds and the drifting snow, there were
Now, take note of this.
locations.
These are the conditions that they retrieved Karen's car from. Okay? So he's 6'2", he's saying, and Karen's car is buried in this snow and about to be towed back to Canton, but has 5 little bits of glass on the bumper. Just happened to stay there.
Along our walk to the property with snow varying from knee-high to up to my waist. For reference, I'm 6'1", so it was quite deep in some locations.
And as you made your way to the home, what, if anything, did you observe in the driveway?
As we walked up to the driveway in front of the garage, we observed a large Lexus black in color SUV bearing Massachusetts registration 3GC684.
Oh, you remembered the number plate.
Subsequently, did you come to find out whose vehicle that was?
Did you practice that in the mirror?
Yes, once we queried the plate, we learned that the vehicle was registered to the defendant.
And as you're going by this vehicle, what, if any, observations did you make of the vehicle as you were?
It was covered in snow.
I observed a damaged rear right taillight fixture on the vehicle. From my vantage point, I also told Trooper Proctor to approach the vehicle closer and confirm what I was seeing, which he did.
And as far as that damage to the right passenger taillight area, can you describe sort of what it was that you saw during that initial phase?
Absolutely. During the initial phase, I observed snow compacted and caked onto portions of the taillight casing. There were pieces missing, and I knew that because the left side taillight was intact.
I can visualize it.
And as you made your way past the vehicle to the home at some point.
So he just said that the snow was packed in to the tail light assembly. So that means that it was above the bumper. So how did the glass stay on the bumper all the way to Canton?
You meet someone in the area of the home?
Yes, once we walked up to the front door, I rang the doorbell and Mr. Reed opened the front door with the glass storm door, unable to open due to the level of snow on the ground and on the front steps.
And so where were you directed to enter the home from?
Mr. Reed directed us to the garage door, at which point it opened up and Trooper Proctor and I entered the garage. We were once again greeted by Mr. Reed and invited into the home.
And Officer Barrows, where did he remain when you and Trooper Proctor went into the home?
He remained outside with the vehicle. During our time in the home, Officer Barrows came in and asked what the plan was and offered to have DPW plow out the driveway because the tow truck was not able to maneuver into the driveway in order to retrieve that vehicle.
Now, as far as during any time that you were on scene or at this residence in Dighton, did you yourself or did you observe Trooper Proctor touch that vehicle at any point in any way while you were there?
No.
And did you observe Officer Barrows or any other personnel beyond the tow truck driver touch the vehicle in any way?
No.
And as far as the tow truck driver was concerned, did you observe that individual touch anywhere in the rear passenger side area of that vehicle at any time that you were there?
No.
So then you proceed inside the home, and when you get inside the home, where did you go and who, if anyone, did you speak to?
We were directed by Mr. Reed to the living room where the defendant was seated on the couch. She had her laptop on her lap and her phone resting on the right armrest of the couch.
Now, in addition to the defendant and her father, who, if anyone else, was present when you talked to Ms. Reed?
The defendant's mother, Mrs. Reed, was also present in the home.
And the defendant's mother and the defendant's father, were they present throughout the course of your interview or your discussion with Ms. Reed?
Yes, they were.
And at any point in time, did you ask them to leave or anything like that?
I did not know.
Now, with respect
Like Pinky and the Brain.
can you describe sort of the
Bukkake
demeanor or
and
the tone
proctologist.
of the conversation that you had with Ms. Reed that afternoon?
It was polite, courteous. She had just went through a traumatic event, so we were, considerate of her losing her boyfriend. And we had a normal tone conversation. We were in the information gathering, fact-finding portion of the investigation. We simply wanted to collect her recollection of events that she remembered.
And so throughout the course of this interview, how are you, are you standing, are you seated, or how are you positioned in relation to Ms. Reed, and how is she positioned in relation to you?
She was sitting on the couch. We were standing across the room. I don't recall if there was a coffee table, but if there was a coffee table, we would be standing on the opposite side of that coffee table if there was one present. I do not remember if there was one present, but that's the distance approximately from me to the defense table.
And if you could describe to the jury sort of how did that interview or how did that conversation begin? What was said?
First things first, we introduce ourselves, advise the individual we're speaking with who we are, where we work, and what we're looking to find out. The defendant was advised that we're looking to get a recollection of the events, what happened, what she observed, what she remembers from the night before, and to walk us through the last 24 hours or so of activity.
And
Do I need to give an instruction, Mr. Lally? I'm not sure exactly. Why don't I see counsel at sidebar for a minute?
I don't think Lally knows what to instruct.
Stated that she was in a relationship with Mr. O'Keefe that morning, meaning the 28th of January. She got into a fight with Mr. O'Keefe over what the niece and nephew were being fed for breakfast, or what they had for breakfast. She went on to say that she met Mr. O'Keefe at C.F. McCarthy's approximately 9 p.m. the night of the 28th of January, 2022. She stated that the gentlemen were drinking, consuming beers, Bud Lights, and she was drinking vodka soda. Prior to moving on to the bar at Waterfall, the defendant was asked where she parked her vehicle. She told me that she parked her vehicle on Washington Street across the street from C.F. McCarthy's, facing northbound. So the vehicle was on the side of Waterfall Bar and Grill. We went on through the conversation, the interview, to the Waterfall restaurant, at which point she was asked if she left C.F. McCarthy's with a beverage or a container from that establishment, to which point she stated that she did not. She also confirmed that Mr. O'Keefe did not have any injuries on him when she interacted with him at C.F. McCarthy's or the Waterfall. He did not get into any verbal or physical altercations with anyone to have sustained those injuries. She stated that once at the Waterfall, they stayed for approximately an hour, hanging out with acquaintances. And then they left the Waterfall. She drove them to, after they were invited to a residence, she drove them to a location in Canton, where she dropped Mr. O'Keefe off. She was asked if she saw Mr. O'Keefe walk into the home at 34 Fairview, and she stated she did not. She stated that she made a 3-point turn after dropping him off and left. She was asked
Really?
whether or not
Really?
Mr. O'Keefe, excuse me, let me back up. She was asked if she knew, how she found out about the damage to her vehicle, to which she stated, quote, "I don't know, it happened last night," end quote.
I'm looking for his top teeth.
Now, at some point earlier in the interview, what, if any, indication did she give as to who Mr. O'Keefe was with when she arrived to see if McCarthy's, and sort of how long he had been with those respective people?
She indicated that Mr. O'Keefe was with Mr. Camarano, Kurt Roberts, at which point she was asked to provide contact information, meaning phone numbers for those individuals, at which time she picked up the phone on the right armrest of the couch, manipulated the device, entering a passcode, and provided that phone number to Trooper Proctor and I.
Manipulates the word of the day,
At
I
any point in
think.
time in the conversation or interview you had with her, what, if anything, did the defendant say in regard to why she had not gone into the residence at Fairview Road herself?
The defendant stated that she was having stomach issues and did not want to enter the residence.
Now, what, if anything, did she tell you about the later on that morning of the 29th?
She stated that when she woke up, she began looking for Mr. O'Keefe. And when she found him in the snow, she began CPR on Mr. O'Keefe.
And what, if anything, did she say to you about any observations she made of Mr. O'Keefe later on that morning as far as any injuries to Mr. O'Keefe?
The defendant stated that while she was performing CPR, Mr. O'Keefe had sustained injuries and was bleeding from the nose and the mouth.
And if you recall, what, if anything, did she say about Mr. O'Keefe's eyes at that time?
The defendant stated that Mr. O'Keefe's eyes were swollen.
Is that both eyes? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, as the interview progressed, at some point, did you ask questions seeking further details?
Yes, I did.
And details about what specifically were you asking?
Once we got to the point in time where the defendant told me she did a 3-point turn, I asked her to walk through step by step of her operating the vehicle and exactly what she did. Prior to that, I asked her, excuse me.
If she did a 3-point turn, she would have gone out of Fairview Road the opposite way. Wouldn't she? I'm confused now.
So she was asked to give a step-by-step recollection of how she, what she did in manipulating the vehicle and leaving the scene.
And at that point, was the interview terminated?
Yes, it was.
Now, once the interview concluded or was terminated, what, if anything, did you do with reference to Ms. Reed's phone and the defendant's vehicle?
Once the interview was terminated, I advised Ms. Reed that her phone was going to be seized as evidence and her vehicle was going to be seized as evidence as well.
Did you read her Miranda rights?
And did you subsequently seize both of those items, sir?
Yes, we did.
And similar to the clothing of Mr. O'Keefe, as far as evidence was concerned, was that packaged and taped and transported back to the office in a similar fashion?
The vehicle was transported via tow truck that was dispatched by Dighton PD on our request.
And so when you get back outside of the residence after the conclusion of your interview with the defendant, What, if anything, did you observe going on with regard to the driveway and or any other vehicles that weren't there when you went into the house?
During our interview, I glanced out the window and I saw flashing amber lights and a tow truck plowing the driveway. So the driveway was plowed and the tow truck was, plow truck was plowing the driveway, not the tow truck. And the tow truck was loading the vehicle onto the flatbed.
And from at any point in time when you were outside of the residence, what, if any, observations did you make as far as cameras or anything like that on the exterior of the home?
I did not see cameras on the exterior of the home at that point in time.
Subsequent to that date, did you become aware that there were?
You didn't see any cameras on any house on Fairview Road
on
either?
the exterior of the home in Dayton?
Subsequently, yes, we learned that there was video recording of the residence and the driveway.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
And it shows that tail light.
I'm showing you a disc.
There's no way. There's no way they can convict her.
Yes.
No way. Not a hope
You
in hell.
recognize that to be?
I recognize it to be Dayton videos as it relates to the location where the interview and the vehicle was seized from.
And what's contained on that, as far as the video is concerned, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed as far as the defendant's vehicle being loaded onto?
Yeah, have a
tow
look at the
truck?
tail light
Yes,
when
it
it
is.
loads onto the tow truck.
Can I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll move to seek to introduce in the minutes of the next exhibit.
No objection.
No, I wouldn't object either. I bought my special drink bottle. Don't
And Your Honor,
trust
with
your
the court's
water.
permission, if I could publish those 2 short clips for the jury.
Yes.
Just gentlemen, if you could click on it and then pause when it permits. If you could press the line.
Mr. Lally, you need to keep your voice up.
Yes.
Or you'll get in trouble. So that was a that was more.
Sergeant Bukhenik, from this particular point of the video, do you recognize the vehicle that is just pulled into the driveway?
Yes, I do.
Is that the same driveway that you had walked up from the street to the house in Dayton on that morning?
Yes, it is.
As far as the vehicle is concerned, what do you recognize that vehicle to be?
That would be the Lexus SUV owned by the defendant, Bear, Massachusetts registration 3 GC
Yeah, you said
684.
that.
Gentlemen, if you could press play.
And look at the time. 2:11, 2:12, 2:12.
Just gentlemen, if you could pause right there. 2 individuals just exited that vehicle, is that correct, Sergeant?
That's correct.
Do you recognize who those individuals are as far as who they are and from what part of the vehicle they exited from?
Yes, the passenger side exit was the defendant, and then the driver's side vehicle was Mr. Reed.
That'd be the defendant's father, is that correct?
That's correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could play this to the end. Now, Sergeant, towards the end of that video, did you observe the defendant and her father in any specific area in relation to that vehicle?
Yes, I observed the defendant and her father at the rear right taillight, gesturing or signaling towards the affected, damaged, and missing parts of the taillight.
Objection.
I'll allow just the direction that they were signaling out.
Strike the later.
Okay?
As far as that vehicle's position within the driveway, is that essentially the position that you observed it in when you and Trooper Proctor and Officer Barrows were walking up the driveway to the home?
Yes, it was.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have a second of those 2 videos. If you could pause it there, please. Again, Sergeant Bukhenik, if you could.
And
describe
the
the
hair
video
and that
to
glass
the
just
witness,
stayed there.
within this particular video.
This video captures the vehicle being moved into position to be loaded up onto the flatbed for transport from the scene.
Gentlemen, if you could play for them.
Now watch the red reflector of the tail light on this side. Oop. We only just made that. Oh, look, the time's changed. Look at that. Oh, I just noticed that. Oh my God. Oh, hang on. Look at the time. It's now 4:12.
Yeah, you really have to keep your voice up.
16:12.
Sergeant Bukhenik, from this still image from this video, what if any
How did that happen?
significance do you observe in relation to the vehicle at this time that is being loaded on?
Hang on. I have to go back. I'm sure it
any
said
sort of
too.
substantive time in
Onto the flatbed.
and from at any point in time when you were out, Sergeant Bukhenik, from this particular point of the video, do you recognize the vehicle that has just pulled into the driveway?
Yes, I do.
Is that the same driveway that you had walked up from the street?
Oh, that's when she arrived.
On that morning?
Yes, it is.
As far as the vehicle is concerned, what do you recognize?
Okay, that's when she arrived at her parents'.
That would be the Lexus SUV owned by the defendant, bearing Massachusetts registration 3GC.
Kim Police Department, where did the vehicle go?
The vehicle proceeded.
Two individuals just exited that
Back up
vehicle.
onto the flatbed.
That's correct.
Do you recognize who those individuals are as far as who they are and from what part of the vehicle they exited from?
Yes, the passenger side exit was the defendant, and then the driver's side vehicle was Mr. Reed.
It depends.
That's
who
correct.
you're talking to. It was a light dusting for glass and hair fibers, but it was a blizzard for everything else.
Now, Sergeant, towards the end of that video, did you observe the defendant and her father in any specific area in relation to that vehicle?
Yes, I observed the defendant and her father at the rear right taillight, gesturing or signaling towards the affected, damaged, and missing parts of the taillight.
Objection.
I'll allow just the direction that they were signaling at.
Move to strike the remainder.
Okay?
As far as that vehicle's position within the driveway, is that essentially the position that you observed it in when you and Trooper Proctor and Officer Barrows were walking up the driveway to the home?
Yes, it was.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have a second of those two videos.
So,
again,
whereabouts are you, Gabby? Are you're in Boston, are you? Or that's right, I think you are. So you're near. I forget. I'm over 50. My brain's just gone. It's gone. Gone.
Sergeant Bukhenik, if you could describe to the jury what you observed of significance within this particular video.
This video captures the vehicle being moved into position to be loaded up onto the flatbed for transport from the scene.
Gentlemen, if you could play for them.
So 2 hours later, they've retrieved the car. Because I'm sure he said, or someone said in the grand jury proceedings that it was 5:15 that they towed the car
Yeah,
back.
you really have to keep your voice up.
Yes. Sergeant Bukhenik, from this still image from this video,
See the tail light? There is light. There is still red there. There's still red there.
Rear tail light is illuminated. You could see a white light coming from that tail light.
It's still intact there at the bottom.
Before you just direct the jury's attention to the specific area you're talking about.
Right there.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play this through the...
Yes, yes. this is before it gets back to Canton PD. That tail light is intact. That bit that they showed, the last one that Proctor collected on the 18th of February, that piece is in the. Let me see if I can back it up a tiny bit.
Now, Sergeant Bukhenik, as far as when you left the residence in Dyke.
No, too far. So there, it's hard to see when I pause it because the letters come up and I can't move it. But can you see my cursor there? So there's the light there, and that bit there is the bit that was collected on the 18th of February. That big piece, the like 15-centimeter piece. But then when they got back to the PD, Canton PD, there's 48 minutes missing of the CCTV footage. So they have video of this, but they don't have a no. And they don't have a video of any of the ring cameras on Fairview, any of the ring cameras on of any adjacent streets that she travelled up, and the CCTV footage from the library that she would have passed at 12:28 or whatever the time that it correlated to. The 2 minutes were miraculously disappeared from that too as she passed by, and that would have shown the same thing, her tail light intact. So, in my opinion, this
right there
evidence shows that it was tampered with. So it's better for the defence than it is for the prosecution. Bri, whilst I remember, there's a clip showing the reverse lights. Yes. Because it's the bottom of that light that actually has the 4 little LEDs in it. And the rest of it is a reflector, like up the side. So, but, what was I going to say? I forgot now. I was talking earlier on the previous stream about why the state hasn't called Michael Proctor. And my theory was that even though he's on the state's witness list, he's also on the defence's witness list. And if the defense calls him, it's my understanding that you get a little bit more leeway with regards to asking leading questions under cross-examination, which means that if the defense calls Michael Proctor, Lally would have more of a leeway in asking leading questions in his cross-examination. Does that make sense? I'm not sure of if I'm on the right track or not, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my thought process on why they haven't called him as such. Do you see the video? Yeah, yes, yep. They didn't even ask. Turtle Boys are awesome. He cracks me up. Really got to go back and watch it. No, that's me, Dallin. I did a presentation because I was a registered nurse for 12 years, and I worked in intensive care and coronary care as well. So I just went through the ER doctor's testimony and broke it down for everyone and explained it a little bit better because he might be a great doctor, but he wasn't very effective in communicating what the process was and why they did it. So, but I'm also in the middle of doing a compilation of dog bite injuries as well. So hopefully I'll get a chance to finish that off tomorrow, but I'm doing a double back-to-back live stream today. So, but yes, there is definitely a video. I think it's 3 videos ago, perhaps, maybe. I did it when they had the week where we only had one trial day. So I think I did it maybe last Wednesday. That's true. I don't think much do. Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. Yes, yeah. Yep. By all means, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out, my love. Much longer if we go.
You can take that down.
I've watched this 3
Now, Sergeant
times, but I
McCann,
fell
as far
asleep at this
as
bit
when you
twice.
left the residence in Dayton, where is it that you went?
Can we turn the lights on, Mr. Lally?
Yes, on my
And then I woke up at the end.
Once we left the residence in Dayton, we proceeded following the tow truck back to the Canton Police Department.
And was there anywhere else that either you or the
Brian.
tow truck went between Dayton and the Canton Police Department?
If you have any requests or any suggestions or anything like that, chuck them in the chat, and I will more than happily try and do my best to research something, because that's what I do. That's what I like.
No, sir.
And when
Especially
you say
if
we,
it's
it's yourself
medical
and Trooper
based.
Proctor, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, once you arrived at the Canton Police Department, where did the vehicle go?
The vehicle was unloaded and put into a heated sally port located at the Canton Police Department.
And in reference to the Canton Police Department and putting it in the sally port, why was it that it was taken to that location?
It's a location that serves as a storage for a
Have a
vehicle
good day.
that would suffice for the size of the vehicle. The location is, as it related to the crime that took place was investigated, was in that town. So we utilized their facility. It was also a heated facility to help melt the snow that had been accumulating on the vehicle.
And on the bumper?
And at some point, well, as far as some point subsequent to this, did you learn that there are exterior cameras of the Canton Police Department, as well as cameras within the Sally Port garage area?
Yes, I did.
And have you reviewed?
Now, this is interesting because as I said, I've put this on 3 times to watch it, and I fell asleep right in the middle every time and watched the start and the end. So I've missed this middle bit, but I flicked onto Turtle Boy's stream after I'd watched this the second time, and why is my brain not working tonight? No, I have to start again. I'll remember in a second. It'll come to me.
Cameras prior to your testimony here today?
Yes, I have.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. The cameras. The 48 minutes that are missing at the Sally Port, they actually show some of that footage here, and it pans back to Karen's reaction and to Jackson's reaction, because they're like shocked that this footage has now surfaced in the middle of trial that was supposedly missing. So I haven't seen this bit. This will be a cold reaction.
I'm showing you a disc. Just that. Look at that. Look up when you finish.
And apparently the image was.
You recognize that, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
The Canton Police Department driveway video.
And what's contained on that is that fair and accurate portrayal of yourself and the tow truck pulling into the Canton Police Department driveway on that afternoon or early evening of January 29th.
Yes, it is.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Almost seek to introduce.
Yes.
They have just a moment, Council.
Okay.
Oh, there's Turtle Boy there, up the top. With his laptop. How big was it, Unity? It's this big.
Thank you for that, Your Honor. No objection.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't know what's coming because they haven't seen this footage.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, we publish that video to your son.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Did you like my thumbnail? Couldn't help myself. It started off with Bukkake in the
Yes, I
house.
am.
So where is this camera view in relation to the Canton Police Department and the Sally Port Garage where the vehicle eventually goes?
This camera is capturing the driveway entrance to the Canton Police Department. As viewed from Washington Street, that driveway there is on the left side of the structure.
So is that Karen's car there with
The
that
camera
tail light?
itself is pointing towards the entrance of the driveway to the Canton Police Department. As you can see, the brake light illuminated in the shot. That is a Canton Police cruiser sitting at the edge of the driveway right by Washington Street.
So for orientation purposes, as far as the tow truck and your vehicle, is that coming from the top of the screen to the bottom or the bottom to the top?
It's coming from the top left to the bottom right of the screen towards the rear of the building where the Sally Port is located.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman, if you could.
How did it get its name, Sally Port?
Pause there, Ms. Gilman.
Oh, look, and that hair stayed on.
This video, Sergeant, what if anything do you observe?
That is the tow truck transporting the defendant's
The ninja
vehicle
hair.
arriving at Canton PD. My vehicle with Trooper Proctor inside, me operating, are following closely behind as we did the entire way from Dayton all the way to Canton.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play that to the end.
In this footage, when they bring it into the Sally Port, you can actually see that the video's been cut because one of the men disappears in it. Completely disappears off the screen.
Now, as
It's like
far
magic.
as the interior of the Sally Port Garage, that
Put the lights. Thank you.
as far as the interior Sally Port of the garage, you mentioned that that is a heated area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And as far as the heat within that, do you know how that is produced or how hot it gets in there as far as the time that you spent within there?
I
Do
do
the
not
Wraiths
know,
still
but
live
it
in
was
Dayton?
a standard garage heating system that blows hot air. As far as temperature, when the doors were open, that day it was freezing cold. It was, I believe, like 18 degrees with, winds blowing. So inside the garage inside the Sally Port with the doors open, it was quite cold. Once the doors shut, the temperature rose above freezing and the snow began to melt off of the vehicle.
And from the arrival of that vehicle into the Sally Port garage area, are you aware or have you reviewed video in reference to that?
Yes, I did.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Yes.
Showing you another disc, sir. Just ask you to review that one until you finish.
Yes, that's the doctored one that I have. Correct, yes. Redacted version.
And do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, I do.
And does that contain the video that you were just testifying about as far as the arrival of the vehicle at the Canton Police Department Sally Port garage?
You're
Yes,
a
it is.
regular local.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
How about the seat to introduce in the minutes of the next exhibit?
No objection, Your Honor.
No wonder you're interested in this case.
Now, Sergeant, before we get to that video, if I could just ask, if you know, approximately what time was it that you left Dayton following that tow truck back to the Canton Police Department?
We left Dayton approximately 4:15, 4:20, and we followed the vehicle back to Canton, arriving probably around 5:30 or so
5:30.
p.m.
Takes that long?
Thank you. And Your Honor, with the court's
Really?
permission, if we could publish
I suppose there were
that
the
video,
conditions.
for the jury.
All right.
Okay.
I'll concede this once. Oh, sorry, I put that straight out without reading it. Delete. Yeah, it's one of these videos where one of the guys over this side,
If you could just pause there for a moment.
next to the mannequin,
Direct your attention up to the video on the screen
disappears
for orientation
where
purposes.
they've cut it.
And, first of all, do you recognize what's depicted in this video?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
That is the Sallyport two-bay garage at Canton Police Department with the antique Canton Cruiser on the bottom of the screen and the open spot for a vehicle in the
got
middle of the
snow all
screen
around
with
it.
the four-wheel drive all-terrain vehicle at the top.
Now, as far as, again, for orientation purposes, the driveway that the jury just witnessed in the prior exhibit, is that to the left of the screen, the right of the screen, or something else?
The driveway
Hi, Darren.
is to
Say hi to Gabby.
the right of the screen.
And this vehicle, the defendant's vehicle is sort of taken into the garage from the opposite side or to the left of the screen, is that correct?
Correct.
In this moment, if you could, please.
Are you getting ready to stream live? Because you're welcome to jump on if you want. I'll send you the link. What have we got? Maybe
Okay. Could
an
you
hour's
pause that,
left.
Ms. Gilman?
Actually, probably half an hour because I wasn't going to count the drinks again. Yeah, what does she say here?
Now, as far as
Something. She turns back to her parents and says something. Yeah, because this footage was not released, I don't think, to the defense. Oh, good. I think there's probably only another half hour in it for me anyway. I've done a back-to-back today, so. And the last of his testimony is pretty much counting Karen's drinks for the evening, so. Come on. Let's get back to the Sallyport.
Muted. Okay, so you want us to watch this now?
If it please the court, yes.
What? Thanks, Gabby. I'm actually really blessed. Oh, whoops. I took that off too soon. Sorry. Oh, that jumped.
May I get just a little closer?
Oh,
Sure.
that jumped again.
Can we turn out the lights, please, Dave? Thank you.
Whoa, he nearly slipped on his ass. But yeah, if you watch There is part of this video where there is someone at either end of the car, and the one at the front of the car completely disappears. Poof, gone. Hopefully, Deb and I will get together very soon, Gab. Yes. Or should I say, yes. Wait for it. That's dangerous. That's a occupational health and safety hazard. Not only could you slip over, but you could disappear into thin air as well. It's like what is it? This Doctor Who traveling, the TARDIS. Oh, they must have borrowed all their equipment from the CERT team. No problem, sweetheart. Yes, it will. That ninja hair is still hanging on. It's once they put the crime scene tape vicariously around the car, the guy at the front disappears. $5.40, 53 down the bottom. Watch the timer. Oh, there he goes. That was a minute. Now we're at 5:41:18, 5:41:25, 5:41:37. Skipped another few seconds. Oh, there we go. A little bit more. Door comes down. $5:42. There's another 20 seconds. And wrap it around the mannequin. That's safe. That's secure. No one will get past that. Mannequin will guard it for us. Now watch. There it goes. Disappeared. Poof. Gone. Mannequin Mike. You want me to go back and show you again where he disappears? It's amazing. It's magic. Went too far. All right, watch this guy over here. Ready, steady. Oh, gone. Nope. No one's tampered with that. Then they just lost another 2 minutes. If you watch the timer down the bottom. Now it's stopped.
Is that the end of it, Mr. Lally? Or
Is that the end of it, Mr.
I
Lally?
believe so, yes.
is that the end of it, Ms. Gilman?
Wingardium Leviosa.
All right. Lights on, please, Dave. Thank you. All right. So I have a copy of the printed docket on 424. Paper number 347 was the Commonwealth's Notice of Discovery XL. I just asked Mr. McDermott to print it for me. Our printer up here doesn't work.
Yeah.
All
I
right. So
don't think
that was before we impaneled. That was the day, I believe, of the long motion in limine.
It wasn't
Trial.
submitted as part of discovery.
All right. So we'll take
Right
a 5-minute
there.
break. Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
Says Bev. And she lies. It's not 5 minutes. Let's skip ahead. Go back.
Again with the video.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, for the record, I believe we're picking up where it was paused, which was 5:35:36.
Okay.
And prunes. Watch this again. See, the only problem for me is the stream starts like it's 10:22 at night here now. So I'm ready to watch day 21. But that's 6-7 hours. So I fall asleep halfway through it. And then I have to watch it again the next day.
If you could pause right there. And Sergeant, as far as the condition of the vehicle as you observe it in this sort of pause still shot of the video, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of the condition as far as the
really
snow or ice or anything you observe on that vehicle when it came into the Sally Port garage?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play from there.
So, Bukkake, what, if any, disappearing acts did you witness in that CCTV footage?
If you could just pause there for a moment. Sergeant's almost falling in the video.
All right. So keep your voice up.
Sergeant Bukhenik, with reference to any individuals you see in this video, do you recognize any of those?
I would so laugh if
I
someone
can
next to me-
recognize Trooper Proctor myself. Other than that, I don't remember exactly who else was present at this moment in time.
If you could start using the laser pointer before you, just direct your attention to where you observe yourself and where you observe Trooper Proctor.
That's Trooper Proctor and myself. Then.
Deb, while you're here, check out this link
With this vehicle in the Sally Port
in the
garage,
description box.
evening of January 29th,
Awesome.
2022. Did either yourself or did you observe Trooper Proctor touch or manipulate in any way the right rear passenger side area of that vehicle?
No, we did not.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play from here.
Did you pull a rabbit out of your hat? Don't slip. Hey! Don't forget to give those back to CERT. They're going to need them for their next evidence collection. Oh dear. There's my alarm for court TV. Day 21 starts in 30 minutes. To start wrapping things up. Surprised my kitty cats haven't come out and annoyed me yet. Why are we watching this again? You look and see how much snow is on the side steps of the vehicle. So imagine what's on the bumper. I can't wait for cross-examination of this evidence.
I want to take a pause there just for a moment. Sgt. Bukhenik, from what you're observing in this video, what you've seen or what you recall from this,
Is
what is it that
securing
you
the
and
scene.
Proctor and some of the other officers are doing now?
No one
We're
will
establishing a
get
perimeter around the vehicle with yellow tape in order to prevent or alert and advise anyone in the area to stay away from the vehicle.
He's not a McAlbert. That's why. And they've just strangled him with crime scene tape. They might call him for the defense. We get to watch him disappear again. I love magic shows. No way anyone can tamper with that now. Look. Bulletproof. Ready, steady. Poof, gone. Oh, I cracked myself up.
You can take that down. And Mr. Officer, we can have the lights back on. Now, Sgt. Bukhenik, are you aware of a warrant that was executed on that vehicle on February 1st of 2022?
I am aware.
And you yourself.
Oh, the
were
other
not
thing
present
that
for
Turtle Boy said too that I remember now, when Cert went out to collect the evidence at 5:41 p.m. that night, when the last person eventually got there, they were talking about, he was saying that they didn't have a warrant. They couldn't get a probable cause warrant to search the house, but they had apparently, supposedly, a warrant to search the lawn. So they had probable cause for that. Surely the lawn and the property is owned by the property owner, Brian Albert, and they know that the owner was home because they said he left, he exited the premises whilst they were conducting their search. So why didn't they search inside?
Is that correct?
I was not present for the execution, no, sir.
Trooper Proctor was, as far as you're aware. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, the next time that you were within
then they go on. That's right.
Based
They
on the
go on to
appearance
show-
of the driveway, we
This is another time earlier on where they actually show Karen leaving the driveway and not backing into John's car. So they're trying to say, okay, well, she knows how to do it. So she, you know, either did it on purpose or some rubbish.
we know that this
Why they include this, I don't know. It's
recording took place prior to the blizzard of January 29th.
And as far as anything that you observe in this video, as far as vehicles or people within those vehicles, what, if anything, did you observe within this video?
I observed Mr. O'Keefe's car parked in the same location as he typically parked it, and then
objection.
Objection.
I'll strike the as he typically does.
And then a black SUV parked perpendicularly to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, adjacent to the entryway to the garage.
Has absolutely no relevance whatsoever.
Gentlemen, if you could pause. At some point in the course of your viewing of this video or the video surrounding it, were you able to identify the operator of the vehicle, black SUV?
Yes, that is the defendant operating her black and color Lexus SUV bearing Massachusetts plate 3 GC 684.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you do.
Ms. Gilman, if you could address it.
Bang. Hits it just there. You see the car bounce forward and everything.
Now, as far as the operator of that vehicle, are you able to observe who that operator is within that vehicle?
I observed the vehicle being operated. I cannot identify who the individual is, and then from that shot right there.
From at any point in the shot?
Oh, go away, Willie.
Of the video that you observed, are we able to recognize the operator of the vehicle?
Not from that shot, no.
Now, with respect to
And
the
even-
timing of this video, what time in the morning is this video?
This the timing of this video is approximately 5:07 a.m. when the defendant left the home through the garage via her vehicle.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play through the
And have a look at the tail light. Way out. Yep, there is still red there.
This particular pause portion of the video, Sergeant, what, if anything, of significance do you observe within the still
Especially
shot of
this bit here.
portion of the video 153?
The portion of this video in the still shot presented identifies a missing, damaged rear right taillight,
Yeah.
exposing the white light coming.
And if you look at it, it's the bit that they still haven't found. It's that inner bit right there. Right there that they still have not been able to find. This red bit is still intact and reflecting the red.
from the right side of that taillight.
And if you could, using the laser pointer before you, draw the jury's attention to what you're talking about as far as that area of the defendant's vehicle. Now, earlier in that video, did you observe the defendant's vehicle coming close to or coming into contact with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, at least from this video, what, if any, damage did you observe to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle?
No damage.
And as far as the ground area around where Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle is parked, specifically the rear of that vehicle, what, if any, rag pieces or anything you observe
And
on the
when
ground
did you
around Mr.
inspect that? Hey,
Nothing
Bri,
was
welcome
observed.
back.
Ms. Gilman, if you could press play.
So he's testified that he did not find any damage to John's car and didn't find any tail light located around the rear of John's car. Why don't we have any ring camera footage of them investigating that, looking for that? Did they look for it? When? I haven't seen any. You missed the magic disappearing act, Bri.
And Ms. Gilman, from Exhibit 6, if I could have video number 165. You can pause there, please. And Sergeant, have you reviewed this video as well?
Yes, I have.
And when time-wise, in relation to January 29th, approximately is this video?
It's approximately like 12:30 in the afternoon.
And as far as the vehicles in the foreground area from this particular camera shot, you know whose vehicles those are?
Yes. The vehicle in the top left corner is Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Vehicle
this
in the
is
middle
after they've
left is the defendant's
been caught.
vehicle. And I do not know who the other two vehicles are.
I was telling if you could press play. Pause there just for a moment. And Sergeant, from the two individuals exiting from that vehicle, do you recognize who those individuals are?
Yes, I do.
And if you could, just using the laser pointer, direct
Karen
your
and her dad?
attention to whom you recognize and identify who that person is.
That there is the defendant, and that there is Mr. Reed.
Again, this is the defendant's father.
Should have been an
That's
investigator.
correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could press play.
And the purpose of that video was what? Mr. Bukkake? Please explain.
Ms. Gilman, if you could pull up video 166 from the same Exhibit 6. Ms. Gilman, if you could pause there just for a moment. Sergeant, do you recognize the person that just exited from that vehicle and behind the defendant's vehicle?
Yes, I do.
Who do you recognize that to be?
As a defendant's brother.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could press play.
Oh, look, she must have done it because her brother cleared off the windscreen wipers. Case solved. Really? Don't dust off the back. You'll get rid of the ninja hair. No.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. If I could have from
What?
the same Exhibit 6.
No
Video
comprendo.
171.
Just wasting time now, Larry. Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Good.
You busy boy?
Yeah, running around.
Are you on morning tea?
Yes, I'm taking my mid-morning break.
Excellent. What time did you start? 7 or?
7 a.m.
Uh-huh.
Went
Are
and
you
saw
on
my
till
first.
3:30?
Actually, I'm working 12 today, so 7 p.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I think I'm getting
Okay.
too old for that. But
Yeah, I think so. The only thing I do for 12 hours is sleep. Did you see Magic Disappearing act in the Sally Pot?
yeah, I watched this yesterday. I'm just tuning in because I love your commentary.
Thank you. I can't help myself. Just, I mean, look, obviously these videos here now, they just seal the deal for me. I mean, if that's all you got to bring, really?
Yeah, I don't know what he's trying to do with these videos. He's just dragging it out.
Yeah. I can't
don't
wait
think it-
for cross-examination.
Yeah, I just don't think Lowry's heart is in this for some reason.
Yeah, really? I think he's done and dusted, just like the windscreen wipers.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. And then all they do is go through how many drinks she had. But why would you bother doing that when you've already done the blood alcohol? What's the point?
Yeah.
Really?
And actually, when I first started to watch the Sally Port video, I thought that was Proctor in the orange shirt. But it turned out to be a big dummy.
A mannequin. Yeah, they nearly strangled him with crime scene tape. Yeah, they secured it real good. Real good. No one will get into that.
Yeah. Well, carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I think that I don't see any point in watching these videos and then watching her have another shot and have another drink and have another shot. It's irrelevant to me. And besides the fact, the next day court starts in 15 minutes. So
Yeah, and
watch
the other thing with Bukhenik testimony is, when did Jen McCabe tell him that she confessed, and why, if that actually occurred, did he just not take her into custody? This whole thing about her saying, yeah, McCabe was saying that
I did it. I did it.
I hit him, and
yeah.
That all happened at between 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning. So
yeah,
allegedly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yep.
So even
Why did it take 12 hours for cert to come out? They're not the delayed response team.
Yeah. I could still See, a lot of people are saying, there's going to be a directed verdict at the close of the prosecution's case. I don't
Explain to
see
me
that.
what that means.
What that means is that
the judge saying there's not enough probable cause,
yeah,
enough proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You have to find the defendant not guilty.
exactly. So at the close of the prosecution's case, the defense will stand up and make a motion for directed verdict, and then the judge has the authority to say, yeah, state, you did not prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt. I am not sending this to the jury. No. I mean, it's very, very rare. I mean, it's a very common motion in U.S. trials. It is very rarely acted on by the judge other than to deny it. And I can see, there are bits and pieces of the state's case that, people who are thinking that, she did do it. I don't fault them for that. But, at least from what I've seen up to this point, I was on the jury, the state hasn't done anything. As a matter of fact, most of what the state has put out so far I think works best for the defense.
Absolutely, so especially what we've seen here today.
Yeah, and I mean, Yannetti and Jackson are just ripping any of the good parts for the state to pieces. So I don't think they have to work too hard once they put their case on. But
and was it true that Karen, that Sally Port footage wasn't included in discovery? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, the part where they brought the car in and put the tape around it was not initially provided because they said they couldn't find it and it was missing. And then it finally showed up and there it was.
Yeah.
I don't think it was, other than the fact that it existed and they didn't provide it, which makes you just think there's something suspicious going on. I don't think there was anything of value in that, really.
And what do you think about, do you think they're going to call Proctor, the prosecution, or leave it for the defense?
I don't know. I know he's on the list.
What do you think, Deb?
Well, the thing is, and I think you were right when you said earlier, maybe Lally won't call him because he knows the defense will, and then he'll have, brought more latitude on cross. But in my opinion, I think Lally should call him to get ahead of all the shit that Jackson and Yannetti are going to bring. And the piece about having more latitude, I really don't think that's in play because Lally's been leading witnesses and getting away with it since day one. And I think Jackson and Yannetti are kind of like, well, who cares, because the case is crap as far as they're concerned. So they're not objecting a lot. I find myself hearing Lally's question and then jumping, objection, but and they're just sitting there letting it go. And then when the answer comes out, it's like, why make a big deal out of it? Because
let him dig his own grave.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think Morrissey will get on the stand?
Which one?
The DA, Michael Morrissey. Because I think he's on the list too.
Really? I'm not familiar with what do you think he would testify about?
I don't know. But he's on their list.
Huh. That's a new one on me.
I have to check. Hang on. Whose list is it on? I think it might be the defense's list, but let me just check in Canva. Hang on. I uploaded it.
Unless they're trying to say that there was some impropriety about charging her in the first
That's defense list 1. Where's defense list 2? Yes, he's number 66 on defense list. Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey.
Huh. That is
Yeah.
unusual.
Hmm.
I'm going to have to dig a little more to figure out why they would do that.
The plot thickens.
Yeah. Who's up after Bukhenik?
I have no idea. I've got the lists, but they're not going in order.
Oh.
So, I have no idea, but we'll find out in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. The way that Lally's calling these witnesses, I'm generally shocked about the order.
Well, they've only just started their evidentiary phase, really. So,
yeah,
you'd have to be an expert, maybe Celebrite or something.
You know, just to be kind, I'm hoping that he's saving his best for last because he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So
you'd want to hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, I'm going to let you go.
I'm going to go and put the kettle on and make myself a cup of tea, put my Jimmy Jams on, and go and watch
Very good for you.
You have yourself an amazing day.
You too. Are you planning on being on tomorrow?
I will do my best, yes. Yes, that's my plan.
I'll keep my eye out.
No worries.
I may not be able to even log in because actually tomorrow's an even earlier day for me. So, but I will do my best to at least get in the chat.
That's fine. Oh, good.
All righty. You take care.
I will have the stream up.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Unicorns. All right. Well, I think we shall wrap up for the day. I have actually got a you're going to laugh, a new segment that I thought that we could introduce to the stream every day, just to make it a little bit more lighthearted. I was talking to my youngest daughter the other day, and she has this thing called Roses and Thorns. And when she comes home from work every day, she says to her partner, "All right, any roses and thorns?" And I said to her, "What do you mean?" She said, "All right, well, he's allowed to tell me something that has, annoyed him for the day, which is his thorn, provided that he then counteracts that with something that has been good for the day, so his rose." So I thought, oh, that's really nice. That's actually quite good. How can I include that into a segment on live stream? So here we have the new segment. So instead of roses and thorns, we have shits and gigs. So you get to tell me something that's given you the shits for the day, as long as you tell me something that's given you a giggle. What do you reckon? I reckon that's great. So we might introduce that tomorrow, all right? Just for shits and gigs. Trust me to twist something. All right, peoples. Thank you again. Mwah. Lovely to see you all, hear you all, and enjoy day 21 of this. Yeah, unfortunately for Karen, trial. So, bye, Deb. Bye, Gab. Bye, Bri. Mwah. I bid you adieu. See you tomorrow.